Hi there, my name is Inshira. Welcome to the Premium ICA lecture videos and welcome to our videos today on strategic management. Here at Premium Education Hub, we have delegated ourselves to be able to give you what you have to know in relation to the ICA syllabus, in relation to the key subjects, and we have lecture videos and other materials, study materials here that are prepared by our experts and examiners to help you to be able to achieve your objective as an accountant and to be able to carry out your duties and your work. We believe here at Premium Education Hub that the professional examination is not a difficult examination. However, in each examination sitting, the examiner has an objective on what he wants students to or what he wants to test students on. So it's then the responsibility of students to find out the mind of the examiner, what the examiner is likely to test on in each examination sitting or in the examination sitting that you are going to sit for. But it is our objective here as an education institute to be able to help students and bridge the gap so that in each examination sitting we help students to focus on key areas that not the examiner is likely to set on, but what the examiner will set on in the examination. And our examination analysis document has proved to be about 92% on average to be effective in relation to helping students to get their required pass mark and to also excel academically in the work field. So here at Premium Education Hub, we have materials on all the subjects that you can think of in the ICA syllabus and as well as some materials on ACCA, and we are dedicated to be able to give you nothing but quality in relation to that. Now today we want to discuss with you or start a new series with you that we title Strategic Management, or what do you know in your syllabus as Corporate Strategy, Ethics and Governance. Corporate Strategy, Ethics and Governance. Now when it comes to here at Premium, we have divided the Corporate Strategy, Ethics and Governance syllabus into two. We have the first aspect called the Volume 1, where we have all the models. We deal with all the models that the examiner is likely to test on in each examination sitting. So we deal with all the models in our Volume 1 study manual. Then we go to Volume 2, where we deal with other issues like management perspective, marketing perspective, operation perspective, HR perspective, financial perspective. We deal with business ethics. We deal with the auditors. We deal with board structure and other stuff. So this is how we have structured the syllabus here at Premium Education Hub. But today, as I said, we are starting a new series in relation to the corporate strategy, and we'll be starting with the Volume 1 aspect to deal with the strategies or to deal with the models that you have to be aware of. And so we're going to take our time, go through the models one after the other, and tell you how applicable the models can be in each examination sitting. However, the examiner has divided the examination into two. So you're going to have Section A and then Section B. And the Section A aspect of the syllabus is a 40-mark case study aspect where the examiner is going to bring a case and students are going to read, and then based on that, the examiner is going to ask students some questions on that. The Section B aspect is where the examiner brings a further 5 questions where students are supposed to answer 3 of those 5 questions to get 60 marks to be added to the Section A 40 marks so that we can come around. But hey, the examiner is going to pass you based on 50 marks. However, here at Premium, we don't target getting the pass mark 50. We target getting the best mark that you can ever get. That's above. It's possible you can get 90 and above, because if you target only the pass mark, it don't push you to do what you have to do well. But here we pursue and we challenge you that you target for 90, so that if things don't go well and you're even falling down, you can fall down to somewhere 80, somewhere 70, and hey, you are still going to do well in your examination. Alright, so in dealing with the models of financial management, in dealing with the models in strategic management, we are going to divide it into a couple of sections. We're going to first deal with the environment of businesses. Businesses businesses operate in environments. So businesses operate in environments. We have the internal environment, we have the external environment, and their business is in an environment, and the business operates, the environment has impacts on the business, and the business also has some impacts on the environment. So when it comes to the environment of businesses, we're going to look at the external environment, the internal environment, and if you want, the industry environment. So that is how we have divided or categorized the environment of businesses. So even though the industry is in the external environment, we isolate the industry and want to take it in a different manner. So the internal environment refers to the internal four walls of the business, what confines within the business. The external environment has to do with what is outside the business, and usually the organization doesn't have control over the external environment because the external environmental factors there influence the business. But when it comes to the internal environment, the business has control over it because it relates to the processes of the business, it relates to the internal controls of the business, it relates to the day-to-day running of the business. So the business has control over that. Then when it comes to the industry environment, that is wide. You see, an industry is defined as a collection of firms that produce the same products or render the same service. So we can talk about the banking industry, to mention like EcoBank, to mention like GT Bank, to mention like Societe Generale, to mention like Universal Merchant Bank. So these come together to form what we call the banking industry. When we come to the communication industry, we can mention companies like Safeline, we can mention Basic Internet, we can mention MTN, we can mention Glow, we can mention Vodafone, we can mention Tigo. These come together to form the communication industry. As such, we have to look at the competitiveness within that industry and have to look at how businesses can stay afloat and what are the factors that encourage businesses, new businesses to spring up within an industry, and what are the factors that discourage other businesses to come into some other industries. Then also with the industrial analysis, we'll be going off board, we'll be doing industrial analysis in relation to the domestic country, and we'll also be doing industrial analysis in relation to the global industry. So in the domestic economy like Ghana, how do we assess the industrial competitiveness of firms? And then when we go to the global market, how do we assess the industrial competitiveness of firms? Why will a bank in Ghana and a bank in UK, they are all in the banking industry? Why will one be doing well than the other? So we're going to assess that in relation to the industrial analysis. But all are going to unfold to us as we go ahead. Now when we talk about the external environment, how do we assess the external environment? It behoves on businesses that they should be able to assess the external environment. Now, why is this important? Because you see, the environment keeps changing, the environment is dynamic, the environment keeps improving, taste and preference of people change, government policies change, businesses are coming out with new strategies. So the organization must on a consistent basis be monitoring and analyzing the effects or the changes that are coming within the industry that it is operating in, within the environment that is operating in, so that it now helps the organization to focus, then it will be able to now become a competitive organization so that it stands out within the industry of operations. So about the external environment, to assess the external environment of the business, we're going to use what we call the PESTEL model or framework. The PESTEL model or framework. Now, what is the PESTEL model or framework? The PESTEL model of framework is a framework designed to assess the 6 major factors that affect businesses, external factors that affect businesses. So we have political factors, economic factors, social factors, technological factors, environmental factors, and then legal factors. These are the 6 key factors that drive businesses. Mind you, Businesses don't have control over any of these factors because they are external factors. So businesses don't have control over them. But businesses would have to look at the changes in these factors so that it will now be able to help it to devise a strategy to be able to overcome their impacts, overcome their effect, so that the company can now be a competitive advantage company. So what are political factors? Political factors are factors that are related to the political stability of a country, the change in government in a country, the threat of coup d'etat in the country, and the policies of the government in the country, and then transition of government from one political party to another political party. So when we talk about political factors, we are simply talking about the governance of a country. So is the country safe to be in? Is the country politically stable? Is the government making great policies for businesses to thrive? Is the country doing well in terms of economically, doing well on the global market so that we'll be able to also do well as businesses? Is the government putting in place some infrastructure facilities to be able to provide these facilities for businesses to thrive? More roads, more infrastructure facilities, policies to help businesses. These are what we refer to as the political factors that affect businesses. As I said earlier, businesses don't have control over this. So on a consistent basis, businesses would have to look at the political factors that are affecting their country, or that is affecting the country, or the changes in the political factors, so that they can decide what to do and what not to do. For example, political stability in Ghana is perfect because there is nothing like coup d'etat from the Fourth Republic as we are in now. There is nothing like coup d'etat. There is nothing like overthrow of government under the Fourth Republic. We have seen smooth transition of government from 2001 back to 2008 and back to 2017. So the political stability of the country is good. So we would have to look at the risks of terrorist attack as well. As businesses, on a consistent basis, we would have to look at this as businesses. Now, also, if we are going to enter into a new market, like you have business in Ghana here, and you want to enter into a new market, like open a branch in Cote d'Ivoire, open a branch in Nigeria, open a branch in Togo, then you have to consider the political factors within those countries. In other words, you have to consider the political stability in those countries. We have to consider the coup d'etat, if there is anything like that in the country. We have to consider threats of terrorist attack in that country, and then all the policies, frame infrastructure facilities that government is making available for the economy to thrive. So these are what we refer to as the political factors. Usually, the political factors have impact on what we call the economic factors. Economic factors are the economic variables that runs the economy. In other words, they are the changes in the variables that runs the economy. For example, interest rates, inflation, bank rates, taxation can be a political factor. Government spending can be an economic factor. So interest rates, we can talk about it. Inflation, we can talk about it. Bank rates, we can talk about it. Taxation, we can talk about it. Government spending, all these are economic factors. Money supply, the demand for money, all these things are all related to the economy. So businesses must find out what are the changes in tax rates, what are the changes in bank rates, what are the changes in inflation, what are the changes in money supply within the economy, what are the policies that government is making to economically impact on the business. So these are economic factors. So we have to consider the effect of each of these economic factors on businesses. For example, if there is an inflation, the inflation of the country is high, definitely it means prices of goods and services will be high. And if prices of goods and services are high, it means that the demand of the product is going to be low, all other things being equal. Another example, if money supply within the country is not controlled very well, if there is too much in the too much money in the economy as compared to goods, it will lead to inflation. If there is less amount of money in the economy as compared to goods, it will lead to deflation. So what is the balance that the government has undertaken? Then issues about taxes. If government brings in more tax on businesses, it means businesses will have less amount of money available to reinvest into other projects. If the government is charging a lot of taxes, it means businesses will not be encouraged to, or entrepreneurs will not be encouraged to establish more businesses. If the bank rate is very high, or the government is charging high interest or is paying high interest on treasury bills, it means that it will discourage people putting their money into banks, into financial institutions, so that they can be able to lend those money to businesses. It means people will go and buy treasury bills so that they would rather give the money to the government to earn more interest than giving the money to businesses. So we have to look at all these factors and how it affects businesses. So at each stage of a business, at each process of the business, within each period of a business, businesses must be on the lookout. What changes are coming in? What are the effects on our businesses? And what strategies do we undertake? Then we come to social factors. Social factors refers to human behavior within the economy, within the country, or in the world. So social factors has to do with the belief system, the norms, the character, the behavior, the mindsets, the way of life, the taste and preference of the people, the belief system of the people. So social factors have a great impact on businesses because the taste and preference of people keeps on changing. People are demanding for high quality products. People are demanding for state-of-the-art services. People are demanding for prompt after-sales services. So we have to look at the changes in the human behavior of people. For example, if you're a company and you want to establish a branch of your company somewhere, one of the things you have to look at is the mindset of the people, is the belief of the people, is the character of the people, is the reactions of the people, is the behavior of the people. So because all these factors will affect whether they are going to buy the product or they are not going to buy the product. For example, if you are a business into pork, or you are a business that you are into pork, you sell pork products and other stuff, and you want to open a branch in a Muslim community, it means that your business is not going to thrive because they don't attest to that, they don't agree with that, or they don't believe that it should be done. Or you are operating in an environment where you go into a community where they have a belief system that pork cannot be eaten, they cannot take pork, it's a sinful meat or whatsoever, then your business cannot thrive there, because if you open it, they will make sure that it collapses, because nobody is going to buy it. Even though you may have 1 or 2 customers coming in, your business is not going to thrive. So businesses must look out for the taste and preferences of customers, the behavior of customers, the custom of customers, the way of life of customers and other stuff. Now, when we talk about social factors, we are not only focusing on customers, we are also looking at our employees, we are also looking at management, and we are looking at human relation as a whole within our business. So businesses must be on the lookout in relation to the social factors. From there, we come to technological factors. This is one of the factors that is dynamically changing the way business is being done. Now, a lot of businesses can render services online without necessarily requesting people to come to their location. Like how you are watching this video. You could have, wherever you are watching, under normal circumstance or in the previous period, you should have come here, sit before me, and I'm teaching you. But now with technology, you can watch the video wherever you are, and you can carry it with you and study everywhere. Even when you are eating, when you are bathing, when you're in your kitchen cooking, you can still be watching this video. Why? Because technology is changing. So businesses must also look at the changes in the trends in technology so that they can adapt themselves to the change in technology. The reason why Premium Education Hub has really become a very technologically conscious education institute is that technology is everywhere. People are on Facebook, people are on Twitter, people are on Google+, people are on Instagram, people are on YouTube. But if people are on these social media platforms, how do we then reach them to be able to educate them, to be able to help them to do well academically, to do well economically, to do well socially? So we have adapted the changes in technology. That is what led us to begin to produce these lecture videos. That is what led us to begin to produce or to develop our website, where we put materials there so that people can read it wherever they are, whoever they are, or whatever they do, they can be studying on the go. So businesses must look at the changes in the trends in technology so that they can adapt to those changes, so that they wouldn't be out of business, but they will be in business. Then environmental factors. This is the key one. Environmental factors has to do with the effect of businesses on the environment. That is the impact that business operations have on the environment. What it simply means is that businesses must be environmentally responsible, or they must be mindful when it comes to the environment, because they must protect the environment so that future generation can also benefit from the environment. What does that mean? If you are into mining, you are into oil exploration, or you are a factory that emits a lot of gases into the atmosphere, then it has to be regulated so that we don't damage the environment, we don't deplete the ozone layer, we don't contaminate our rivers, we don't destroy our forests, our lands, so that future generations will not have anything to link their hands on. So environmental factors are serious. Here in Ghana, it is regulated by the environmental protection agencies, and businesses must be on the lookout to find out what is our impact on the environment, what is our impact in the community we are in. This is why a lot of companies undertake what we call corporate social responsibility, which is one of the topics we'll be looking at later on in this session or in these videos that we'll be looking at. And because corporate social responsibility, they go and build schools somewhere for the people, they go and build hospitals, they go and make donations, they go and undertake community projects. All these is to be able to give back to the environment and to be able to restore the environment for the businesses that we have been doing. So what are we saying here? Businesses must be on the lookout as to the impact they are making on the environment, whether it's a positive impact or it's a negative impact, because most people are not now interested only in the product that organization produce, but they are interested also in the organization's responsibility towards the environment. So organizations must be responsible. This is what has led to organization preparing what we call the sustainability report. So at the end of the financial year, after preparing your financial statement, you have to come as good practice principle. You have to come along with your financial statement with what we call the sustainability report. This report includes the impacts that you made on the environment, the things you took from the environment and what you gave back from the environment, and how you made the environment better than it was last year. So that is what we mean by the environmental factors. Then finally, we come to the legal factors. The legal factors has to do with the legal system, the laws, the constitution, the policies, the rules, regulations that governs the country that we are in. Legal system would have to also do with how long it takes for cases to be rendered, how long it takes for cases to be processed, how long it takes the legal system to be operated within a country or within a jurisdiction. So businesses must be mindful of the rules, the laws, the regulations, the principles, the guidance that are mandatory, that businesses, or that are statutory, that businesses must follow in order to enhance or to enable them to operate efficiently and effectively. So these are the 6 factors that guides our analysis if you are looking at the external environment. You will see that each of them are in a way linked to one another. They are intertwined. They are not mutually exclusive, they are mutually inclusive. Because the political factors definitely will affect economic factors, definitely will affect economic factors, definitely will affect technological factors, definitely will affect social factors, definitely will affect environmental factors. So they are intertwined, one leads to the other. If the legal system in a country is not too good, then it will lead to coup d'etat, political factors. If economic policies are not good, there is high inflation, interest rate is way out, then it will affect social factors, human behavior. So they are intertwined, they are linked to the other. But these are the factors that we look at if we are assessing the external environment. Now that we've looked at the external environment, let's push it down to our level and look at the internal environment. In the internal environment, we assess the internal environment using what we call the SWOT analysis. The SWOT analysis: strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. So when we talk about SWOT analysis, it's a framework that was developed to be able to help an organization to assess its strengths, assess its weakness, identify the opportunities that are available, and then look at the threats that it faces as an organization. You must be mindful of the fact that SWOT analysis helps an organization to be able to determine or identify its strategic capacity. That is, what it is endowed with, what it can do, and what it cannot do, so that it will help the organization to now decide how do we improve ourselves so that we will become a competitive company within the industry, within the country of operations. So, how do we assess the strengths, the weakness, the threats, the opportunities of a business? Now, what do we mean by the strength of the business? Strength of the business are normally what the business is endowed with. Alright, so the strength of the business is the advantages that the business enjoys by itself within its organization. Strength of the business can include the success of the company's products, the goodwill that the company has, the management that the company has, some caliber of people that the company has on its board, so human resource. It can also be referred to as the strengths or the systems that a business use, the system that a business use, the technologies that a business use, the corporate social responsibilities that the business undertakes, the community project that the business undertakes. So all these factors are referred to as the strengths of the organization. So when we launch a product and the product is successful, hey, it's a strength to us. If we have a large customer base or market share, it's a strength to us. If we are a company that is known for quality, is known for integrity, is known for giving the best to customers, it's a goodwill to us as a company. It is our strength. If we are a company and we have on our board people who are educated, people who are experts, people who are trained, and people who by themselves are businesses, then we have an advantage as a business. So these are what we refer to as the strengths of the business. What the business is endowed with, the advantages that the business enjoys, the things that the business can lay its hands on and makes the business proud. These are the strengths of businesses. Then we come to weaknesses. Weaknesses are simply the internal limitations of businesses. In other words, weaknesses are the things that limit an organization to be able to undertake certain strategies. What do we mean by weakness? An example of weakness can be the failure of a product that is launched. So we launch a new product and the product failed. It's a weakness to the business. Ineffectiveness of our internal control system. Poor human relationships with our employees. It's a weakness in the organization. No warranties given to goods, or warranties given but not paid. It's a weakness to the organization. So these can be referred to as the limitations, things that limit the organization so that it can't operate well. Small size of the markets can be a weakness to the organization. Even sometimes the location of the business can also be a weakness to the organization. So when we talk about weaknesses, we are talking about the things that limit the organization so that it will not be able to take advantage of what is outside it. So these two things usually the company has control over. So if we identify that our customer service is not good as a business, in other words, even though we've made a profit, but we have not really related well with our customers, they lodge a lot of complaints, but we didn't meet the complaints, it means that we are not satisfying customers. So we have to undertake strategies where we can now be able to satisfy our customers. So that is what we mean by the weaknesses of an organization. Now we come to the opportunities. Opportunities are the advantages available for the organization that it can take. In other words, opportunities are the market share available, the niche of the markets that is available that the organization can take advantage of, other product line that the organization can produce, sell, and make money. So opportunities are simply the channels, the advantages, like the things that are there that the organization can use its strengths and then take advantage of. Now, opportunities can come in diverse ways. Maybe governments can bring out a policy and it will create an opportunity for an organization. For example, if the government removes the minimum requirement for a certain business, then it will now become an opportunity where businesses which were not having that capacity there, the new policy will now allow the business to enter into those markets which they wouldn't have entered if the government policy had not come. So sometimes government policies bring about new opportunities to businesses. Then also government policies in relation to factories, like for example what Ghana is going through now, the one district, one factory policy. Now, it's an opportunity that has come because the government is ready to partner with a lot of private institutions, private companies, so that they can do what we call the public-private partnership agreements and help the government to undertake a lot of projects, undertake a lot of factories. What does that mean? It means that policy of government has now brought a market, has now brought an advantage, has now brought an opportunity that the organization can take advantage of. So opportunities are the markets available for us, or an open door that the organization can enter if it wishes to enter. Threats. Threats, on the other hand, are the external limitations of the organization. Weakness are the internal limitation. Threats are the external limitation. In other words, threats are the external factors, external policies, external things that affects the effectiveness of an organization, and that makes an organization not to be able to undertake certain strategies. For example, a threat can be in relation to the merger of two competitors. So we are all in the industry, then two major competitors to the organization in question have merged together to form one company. What does that mean? It means right now they are going to come with a lot of efforts, they have more resources, come with better strategy. That is a threat to us. Or the acquisition of a competitor by a multinational company. So we have a competitor, then that competitor is acquired by a multinational company. It's a threat. Government policies can also be a threat, like the introduction of currently the 3% VAT rate on goods. It's a threat to businesses. Businesses are not feeling comfortable about it. Or the towing levy that has just been passed a couple of days ago. It's something that is a threat to travel and tour agencies and other vehicle operating agencies. So threats are anything that are limited or that are limiting, external limiting factors to the organization. So these are what we mean when we talk about SWOT analysis. Now, SWOT analysis just tells us what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are. So weaknesses also can be maybe recent increase in labor turnover. So if there are more people leaving the organization, it's a weakness. So SWOT analysis tells us about what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, what the opportunities we have, and then the threats that we face as an organization. But SWOT analysis doesn't really inform us about the strategies that we can undertake. So to use the results of SWOT analysis very well, there is another model that we are going to be discussing called the Veritas Matrix. Veritas Matrix. Now, what is the Veritas Matrix? Veritas Matrix is simply a strategy that is used as a planning method to enable an organization to devise marketing plans, marketing strategies, so that it will use the results of SWOT analysis to achieve its objective and become competitive. So what does that mean? Veritas Matrix use the results of SWOT analysis to help an organization to design, to plan marketing strategies to be able to take advantage of the opportunities or to reduce the threat within or that it faces. The Veritas Matrix proposes 4 basic strategies. We have what we call SOSTWOWT. Strengths and opportunities, strengths and threats, weakness and opportunities, weakness and threats. What do we mean by that? Strengths and opportunities simply tries to answer the question, how can your current strengths help you to capitalize on your opportunities? So, if we have identified our strengths, if we know the opportunities, then the first strategy is we sit down, we ask ourselves, what marketing strategy can we adopt? What policies can we put in place? What strategies can we undertake so that we can take advantage and capitalize on the opportunities that we have out there? That is what we call the SO strategy, the Maxi strategy. Using your strengths to take advantage of the opportunities available. Then we come to ST, that is strengths and threats. How can your current strengths help you identify and avoid current and potential threats? So listen to this. This is what we call the Maxi Mini strategy. The Maxi Mini strategy. So how can your strengths as a company help us so that we will be able to avoid, identify, and then reduce the threats that we are likely to face in the future or we are facing now? That is a threat. For example, if our strength is that we have a large market share, we have good employees, we have goodwill with the people, we undertake corporate social responsibilities, that is our strength. So as a company, we have a large market share, we have goodwill, we have good system as a company, it's our strength. But there is a threat. Let's say we have a competitor or some competitors who have merged together and they are now one firm. That is a threat though, but that cannot really affect us because we know our strength, we know our market, we have our expertise, and we can still deliver and stand the test of the threats. The third one is called WO, that is weakness and opportunities. That is the strategies that we use to ask the question, how can you best diminish your weakness and avoid current and potential threats? So yes, we have a weakness as a company, but how can we reduce the weakness so that we will avoid threats? Because immediately you are weak in a way, it means that you are going to face some threats in the future. So if we are weak, okay, we launch a product, it failed. We don't render after sales services to customers. We give warranties to customers, but when they return the goods, we don't give it back to them. Then what are the strategies we can put in place so that as a company, we can diminish our weakness, and then we will now look at how we can avoid the threats that are outside there. So these are strategies that use the strengths to maximize or to minimize the threats. Use the strength to minimize the threats. So W, use the strengths to take advantage of the opportunities. Then WT, it's about weaknesses and threats. That is how you best diminish your weakness and avoid potential threats. We have made an error. WT or WO is about how you overcome your weakness and take advantage of the opportunities. Okay? How you can overcome your weakness and then take advantage of the opportunities available for you. But WT is about how you diminish your weakness and then you reduce the threats that are outside. So let's take it again. WO is about how you overcome your current weakness by using the opportunities available. In other words, you have a weakness though, but what is the opportunity available? For example, we have a weakness that our product is not too successful. We have a weakness that we don't have a large market share. We have a weakness that our systems don't work well. But what is the opportunities available for us? There may be a niche of the market where the big guys cannot go, the big companies cannot go. So it is an opportunity. So even though we have a weakness, we will use our weakness to save that opportunity so that we will take those strategies, so that we ignore the other markets and focus on the niche of the market. But WT is about how we're going to use our weaknesses, all right? How we're going to diminish our weaknesses so that we'll be able to avoid current and potential threats. So what are the strategies to help us to reduce our weakness so that we will be able to now avoid potential threats? So that is what the Veritas Matrix is about, and that is how we use the Veritas Matrix to devise strategies so that we can use the results of SWOT analysis. Now, what are the objectives of the Veritas Matrix? Let's discuss a couple of them as you have there in your handout. One, it provides a clear set of steps to move from SWOT analysis to formulate strategic options. So, the Veritas Matrix provides a clear set of steps. What we must do. What we must do. You could see in my explanation that I was just talking about what must we do. What must we do? So it provides a step for an organization to move from SWOT analysis to formulate strategic options. Two, it makes business aware of the need for defensive strategies in addition to strategies to grasp opportunities. So the Veritas Matrix help the organization so that it may adapt some defensive strategies like WT, so that we diminish our weakness and then we avoid threats. So how do we diminish our weakness so that we avoid threats? It's a defensive strategy. Three, it therefore helps the organization to adopt an inherently positioning approach to strategy, so that by the Veritas Matrix, because we know our strengths, we know our strategic capacity, we will now by ourselves organically generate strategies that other companies may not be using, so that we can position ourselves within the industry that we are operating in. And finally, it enables management to identify external opportunities and threats and compares them to the company's internal strengths and weaknesses. So this is what Veritas Matrix is about. So SWOT analysis helps us to identify our strengths, our weakness, our threats and opportunities. But Veritas Matrix helps the organization to design strategies, marketing plans, to be able to now use the results of SWOT analysis to become competitive as a company. Now, having discussed about the internal environment and the external environment, so having discussed about the internal environment and the external environment, the next question we want to look at is the industry. Well, when it comes to the industry, every organization, as I explained earlier in our introduction, every organization is in an industry. So how do we now identify or assess the competitiveness within the industry? It's an environment, an industrial environment of businesses. How do we take the competitiveness of the entire industry and then assess it and help businesses to be able to design strategies, marketing plans, to be able to become competitive in the industry that they are operating in? To answer that question about the industrial analysis, I mentioned two things. That industry can be in relation to the domestic market that we are operating in, and it can be in relation to the global market. That is, if we are a multinational company. Within the domestic country, to assess the industrial performance or industrial competitiveness, we're going to use what we call the Porter's 5 forces. The Porter's 5 competitive forces. Now, Michael Porter developed a model to tell business, or to be able to inform business, that there are 5 forces that affect businesses, and businesses, if they are going to become competitive within their industries, the businesses must identify these 5 forces and look at the impact of these 5 forces, so that they can now design strategies, they can now design policies, so that they become competitive and stand out within the industry. Now, so what are these 5 forces? The 5 forces are: 1, the bargaining power of customers; 2, the bargaining power of suppliers; 3, threats from new entrants; 4, we talk about bargaining power of customers, bargaining power of suppliers, threats from new entrants. Then we can talk about rivalry, structure, and then firm strategy. And then last one there, availability of substitutes. I have to make sure it's appearing. Okay, So these are the 5 forces: bargaining power of customers, bargaining power of suppliers, threats from new entrants, rivalry, structure and firm strategy, availability of substitute. So these are the 5 factors. So these are the 5 forces. So let's take them one after the other. Bargaining power of customers. Now, what Michael Porter is saying here is that organizations must design and see or assess the bargaining power of their customers. What does that mean? It means that if customers have strong bargaining power, then they are going to influence the price of the goods and services that a company produces. What does that mean? If customers have strong bargaining power, for example, we produce a product and maybe we have a major supplier that buys like 80% of our products. It means that customer has a strong bargaining power on the products of the company. What does that mean? It means the supplier, because the supplier can now buy 80% of our products, of our outputs, the supplier can set the price that he wants to buy the goods from us. So it means that in that case, the organization must now design strategies to help it so that it can negotiate right prices and to supply the right quantity for the people to help the company to make profits. So what Michael Porter is saying here is that if we know the bargaining power of our customers, if it is strong, then the company must design strategies that will help it to be able to make profit. But if we produce goods and our customers are widespread across, then it means that there is no strong bargaining power of customers. So in that case, we can decide how much we want to sell our product, taking into consideration current prices around, and then the quantity we want to sell at every time in the cycle of the business or in the cycle of the product. Then bargaining power of suppliers. That is, if we flip the coin. So on one side, bargaining power of suppliers, of customers. On the other side, bargaining power of suppliers. It has the same effect. If we, as a company, have our suppliers and then we buy goods from various suppliers, then our suppliers may not have bargaining power over us. What does that mean? It means if there are more places where we can get our raw material, there are more suppliers from where we can get our products to sell, our inventory to resell, then it means that our suppliers will not have strong bargaining power, because if one supplier decides to increase the price, you can quickly go to another supplier. It means in that circumstance, the bargaining power of suppliers is weak. However, if we can obtain our goods from limited suppliers or maybe 2 or 3 suppliers, then it means that in such a case, the bargaining power of suppliers is strong. What does that mean? It means that in such cases, the supplier would determine the price that he wants to sell the goods to, where maybe you cannot buy because it will be higher than the average. And if you don't buy also, you can't get it from anywhere. So what Michael Porter is saying here is that if the business knows the bargaining power of their suppliers, is it strong, is it high, is it low, is it strong, is it weak, then the company can design strategies to help it to become competitive within the industry. The next one is threats from new entrants. Every industry faces the threats from new entrants depending on the limitations or the barriers within or placed by that industry. Some industries are highly regulated, like the banking industry, like the communication industry. It is highly regulated, so the possibility of new firms coming in, it's there, but it's not as high as other industries. Like for example, if you are selling in the markets, for example, we take the Kanishi market for example, you can go there anytime and you want to sell something, you start selling. All you do is you pay your market tolls and that is all. But if you want to establish a telecommunication business, you want to go into banking, then you are going to be facing the big guys. There are going to be barriers there that you are going to overcome. So threats from new entrants. If the industry is such that it is easily penetrated or any firm can enter into the industry anytime, then it means that the industry or the existing firms within the industry are going to face this threat. It means that companies must be on the lookout that, hey, since we are open, then we have to design strategies that even if new firms keep coming in, we will be able to stand tall among all the firms. For example, when it comes to the education industry, it's an industry that is not really regulated, or that is not every company, every individual can just come in and then start something in relation to education. Then start with, because it is not highly regulated. It doesn't require a lot of capital. It doesn't require a lot of regulations. There are just one or two policies and regulations that you must meet, and it's easily penetrated by firms. So it means education, the education industry faces high threats from new entrants. So if that is the case, what strategies will the education industries education companies put in place so that even though there may be new ones coming in, the company can still stand? But if the threats from new entrants or the industry is highly regulated, then we are not afraid too much. Even though there may be new entrants, we know every new person that comes in is also a big guy like ours, and we will still design a strategy to be competitive in such cases. But the question is, what will motivate new clients or new firms to come into an industry? It's about the profitability of the industry. It's about how the industry is regulated. It's about maybe some tax incentive or some policies that those industry or the firms in that industry enjoy. These are some of the factors that regulate or that motivate new firms to be able to enter into certain industry. Then the last one here is rivalry. Rivalry. It should be rivalry. Alright? Strategy and structure are other things that we'll be looking at under the global. Rivalry. So rivalry, this has to do with the competitive rivalry between the existing firms. So when it comes to the existing firms within the industry, what is the competitiveness of them? And is everybody trying to do something that the other is not able to do? Is everybody trying to improve themselves? So the competitive strategy within the industry by each firm also helps the entire industry to be able to work well. And lastly, it's about the availability of subsidies. Did I say subsidies? Availability of substitutes. Availability of substitutes. Every industry that has substitutes is going to be faced with a lot of threats. In other words, if an industry has substitutes, very close substitutes, and it is available, then it means customers will easily switch from one to the other. For example, when it comes to transport and you are going to Kumasi, you can decide to go by road or you can decide to go by air. So even though you're still going to Kumasi, road, air become the substitute. So in the transport industry, it means that that thing there make the transport industry very competitive. So if you are going by road and it is about 4 hours and the vehicle is not luxurious, I'm not comfortable with the vehicle, then why won't I? And it's expensive too. So if that is the case, then let me stop taking by road 4 hours, non-luxurious, then let me go by air, where I will just take about 30 minutes and I enjoy luxury, I sit comfortably, and I reach there on time. So every industry that has close substitutes, then it means that that industry has to look at the strategies that it must undertake. What Michael Porter is saying here is this, that to be able to thrive as a company within the industry, to be able to become competitive as a company, you must look at the effect of these 5 forces on your business at any time, so that it will help the business to design strategies, to design marketing policies, to design procedures through which the company can use so that it can become a competitive company. So these are the 5 forces that Michael Porter talks about. Now, finally on the industry, what we just look at the Porter's 5 forces is about mainly the domestic industry in relation to the whole Ghana. But what if the company is a multinational company, or the company wants to venture into a global company? Why will a company in Ghana here will not do well as compared to the same company in another country? For example, if you take Japan and America, when it comes to technology, they are leading. When you take America and a country like Japan, America, China, when it comes to technology now, they are the people leading. When you take a country like America, it's leading in pharmaceutical. When you take a country like UK, it is leading in investment banking. So why is it that there are a lot of technological firms, there are a lot of investment banks, there are a lot of companies, but these countries stand out? So what Michael Porter is saying, is trying to find out is this: why will a company in country A doing a business will not be doing well, and another company in country B doing that same business. So if it is bank in country A, bank in country B. Why will a bank in country B do well and a bank in country A does not do well? Why is that the problem? So Michael Porter is trying to find out the various strategies that companies must put in place so that they can be able to become competitive not only in the domestic market where Porter's 5 courses will help them, but on the global market. So if you want to be on the global market, you want to compete on the international level, then what are the factors that you have to take into consideration? That is what Michael Porter calls the Porter's diamond. Michael Porter believed that there are basically 4 factors that affect an organization's competitiveness when it comes to the global markets. When it comes to the global markets, Michael Porter believes that there are 4 major forces that affect the organization. So let's look at them. Favorable factor conditions. 2, we can talk about related and supporting activities. 3, we can talk about demand conditions. And finally, we can talk about firm strategy, structure, and rivalry. Michael Porter proposed that these 4 things determined how an organization can be competitive when it comes to the global market. In other words, these factors are the determinant factors that tells why a company does well or a business does well in one country than another country. What are favorable factor conditions? Favorable factor conditions simply has to do with the availability of factors of production and the quality of the factors of production that are available. Michael Porter believed that the reason why country A will not do well but country B does well in the same business is because of the availability of factor conditions, the factors of production. If a company has the factors of production and they are of a high quality, it helps the company, it helps the industry to be able to do well on the global market. So, for example, if the company has good human relationship in relation to human resource, in relation to skilled labor, qualified labor, highly educated labor, trained labor, then it means that organization or that business is going to do well in relation to that industry as compared to another country which does not have those resources or those labor. So factor conditions has to do with the availability of factors of production. So capital generation can be there. Raw materials and their quality availability can be there. Roads and infrastructure facilities that government provides can be there. Taxes and policies and rules that government give can be there. The educational system of the country can be there. So what Michael Porter is saying here is that the reason why a country does well in a certain business than another country in that same business is because of the availability of factors of production and their quality. Simple. 2, related and supporting activities. This simply means that, you see, a business cannot do well without another business. In other words, to be able to do well as a business, we need the support of another business. For example, Premium Education Hub is an education company, but we cannot do well if we don't rely on the IT experts who deal with our website for us, who deal with our video editing, who deal with our uploading. We need them. So what Michael Porter is saying here is that for a business to thrive, all the supporting activities, all the supporting firms that they need, if they are available, it will help the company to thrive. Assuming that Premium Education Hub, with all these ideas we have, with all these study materials we have, but we don't have the IT experts, we don't have the people who can work on our cameras, we don't have the people who can work on our videos, we don't have the people who can help us to upload our videos, then it means that even though we are doing well domestically, we will not be able to go on the global market, we will not be able to to put ourselves on the large market. So what Michael Porter is saying here is that if businesses have supported and related activities around, then they can be able to do well. The reason why China, America, and Japan may be taken as the leaders in technology is because they have the systems available, they have the supporting activities available. The reason why banks are doing well in other countries than in another country is because the supporting activities are available. The human resource skills they need are available. The IT systems they need are available. So everything that they require to help them to do well as businesses are available. What Michael Porter is saying here is that if these related firms are there, it will help the company to do well. Demand conditions. Demand conditions is very crucial. This has to do with what we spoke about in the social factors. So demand conditions has to do with how the customers within our domestic country are requesting for the goods. Are they requesting for quality products? Are they challenging after sales services? Are they encouraging us to give them good quality products? So if our customers are not people who challenge quality, if our customers are not people who challenge good customer relation, if our customers are not people who demand quality luxury from the businesses, then the businesses will not do well. One of the key factors that make businesses thrive in Europe and America and lately Asia than in Africa is because of the mindset of the customers, the belief of the customers, the behavior of the customers. For example, some people resent to lecture videos in the sense that they would rather prefer to be taught physically rather than watching lecture videos. So it's a way of life. So if you are surrounded by most people like that, then it means that in a way it will discourage you to be able to produce lecture videos because they would always want to be around you. But when you go to China, you go to Europe, you go to America, people want to study on their own, have the videos with them, and study at their own time when they are free, not to really come into class. So the demand conditions help an organization, whether it would be competitive on the global market or it will not be competitive. And then finally, firm strategy, structure, and rivalry. Now, this has to do with three things in one. The strategy of the firms. What are the strategies of the individual firms that they are undertaking? What is the structure of the firms and what is the competitiveness in the domestic country? Because you see, if the domestic country is not competitive, then you cannot face the global market. If within your domestic country you are not competitive, you are not on top in the industry, then you cannot go global because you are not doing well locally. How will you do well globally? So what Michael Porter is saying is that the various strategies that the companies put in place, the various structures that the company put in place, and the competitiveness within the industry in the domestic country helps the company so that it positions itself to do well on the global market, and so that when we compare, they can do well in relation to that. So